come you masters of war. You that build the big guns.
Had a video and coding issue at prisonplanet.tv. The stream went down for a few minutes, but it's back up. Small part of what we do, but it's very important because it archives it for records. We will skip this next break for Infowars.com audio listeners and prisonplanet.tv viewers. Okay, Webster. Again, I was throwing my points in because I wanted to understand what you were saying and add some caveats to it, but go back and state that, because I totally agree with you about what they're doing and what needs to be done, and the way you brought it into focus was just amazing. That people think, oh, they're stopping the shorts. No, only on their own industry. These guys are complete pirates, acting as if they know the ship's going down, and they're just pulling out, you know, just every bauble and chandelier out of the mansion.
It's the triumph of monetarism, saying that you can destroy industrial corporations that produce transportation, capital goods, machine tools, food, pharmaceuticals. Everything real is open season. All of them can be destroyed.
Kill people and break things. It's military operations.
The 799 parasitical banks, hedge funds, and remember this, according to some counts, financial services represent 1/3 of the U.S. economy, which is monstrous. It's impossible. You can't have this. There's nothing left to eat, to wear, to live in, to drive, to fly in, to sail in, to use as tools.
Because there's all the debt they generate.
Yeah, so they basically institutionalized that. Again, it's only for 10 days. I would stress again, though, this is the fruit of deregulation. This is the fruit of the end of the Bretton Woods system. It's the fruit of lifting the bans on derivatives that were in place in many areas of the economy up until the mid-'90s, up until Greenspan and the Clinton administration. Rubin, in particular, did this. You also got some things left over from the New Deal, like the Glass-Steagall Act. The Glass-Steagall Act was in force until November 1999. It said, you want to have a bank? Great. You want to have a stockbroker firm, stock jobbing operation?
Got to keep them separate.
Great. They've got to be separate. There's got to be a complete firewall between them, separate corporations. Now you look at J.P. Morgan Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, Wachovia. They are these hybrid monsters that are mainly, especially J.P. Morgan Chase, into derivatives. J.P. Morgan is about 1/3 of the derivatives in the world. It's something like 500 trillion, 600 trillion of derivatives. And then you've got this interesting uptick rule that they're all screaming about. Cox at the Securities and Exchange Commission, he surely isn't incompetent and should be fired. There's one point where McCain had something to say. Anyway, Cox should be fired because what he needs to do is to reinstitute the uptick rule. In other words, if you want to short a stock, you can't do it when it's only going down. You got to wait till it starts to go up, and then you can short it. That would be more effective on the whole than this 10-day ban on all short selling. The most effective ban on short selling is the Tobin tax, a 1% securities transfer tax. To take the wind out of the sails of speculators of all kinds, you simply say anything that crosses an exchange, 1% tax. It's like sales tax. We pay sales tax. Depending on the state, you pay 5, 6, 7, 8.
But explain 9%. That they are naked shorting with no money. They go in and manipulate things, putting nothing in. It's totally criminal.
Yeah, and of course they now means Goldman Sachs put out a bulletin saying it's time to short Citibank. So Goldman Sachs, a bankrupt investment bank, says let's survive ourselves by dragging down Citibank, which up until recently was the biggest commercial bank in the U.S. Obviously, all of these institutions are no longer what they were.
So they're even cannibalizing each other.
Yeah, this is fratricide and cannibalization among the finance oligarchs. Now, I would say the hyperinflationary bailout that is now proposed, you can see that Paulson wants to ram that through within about a week. He's got this monster Pelosi on his side. He's got Dodd and Frank, but he's also got, I believe, Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell and Boehner. They're all going to go along with it. It's important for people in Congress to say no, filibuster it, stop it, block it, and add killer amendments. A killer amendment would be something like this. Are you going to give $1 trillion to these financial institutions and then let them come and foreclose on you anyway? Come on. If this is going to go through.
Well, that's the point I keep making. It's so incredible. We bail them out, and then they take our houses.
They're going to take your house away. In other words, they're going to be...
And they've already been paid for it. Yeah.
They're going to steal. They're going to have their hand in your pocket to pay for the bailout, and they're going to kick you out on the street because you were still under this foreclosure. So
that's incredible.
One obvious killer amendment would be, you want to do this, great. Stop all foreclosures for 5 years or for the duration of the crisis.
Well, Webster, that brings me to my next point, and we'll talk about this behind the scenes and come back and get into some larger questions with you. It's amazing. I've got to get you up next week a lot sooner. Just amazing. The big issue here is Congress started speaking out against this last week, and Paulson Sunday said, sit down and shut up. The Treasury has contracts with these private banks and with these institutional investors and bondholders, and so Congress isn't involved. Congress controls the purse strings. This is a constitutional crisis. So I'm going to skip that break for folks listening on Infowars.com. Webster, how should that be dealt with? I mean, we need to be calling Congress saying, hey, get up off your butts and tell them you're in the driver's seat. Because now we have this unitary executive, the Fuhrer precept, with the bankers, pushing Bush completely aside, showing that they are running the government right now.
Yeah, remember, Paulson is a member of the Principals Committee, and this is what runs the government. Bush and Cheney are simply figureheads. I don't even know what Bush thinks about this stuff. I don't think he understands it. Cheney is also he's in a haze of alcohol and shooting at birds that he can't see.
Well, he looks like he's about to die in video. I saw him in Georgia.
Well, let's let him drift off into the sunset. But in the meantime, we had two press conferences today. They weren't really press conferences; they were decrees. We had Paulson appearing with Cox and Bernanke, and he says, guess what, boys and girls, we're going to take $1 trillion and prop up these toxic pieces of paper. We've got mortgage-backed securities and collateralized debt obligations, and we want to have the government buy up the worst of them. What price is the government going to pay? Recently, the last time I looked, a collateralized debt obligation is going to go for 5 cents on the dollar. What price is the government going to pay? Are they going to pay $1 for each dollar of collateralized debt obligation? This stuff is crazy. But the interesting thing is, at the end of the press conference, Paulson takes 3 questions. You're trying to motivate the public. In other words, public support seems to be the last thing on the mind of Paulson. He took 3 questions at the end of this press appearance, right? This dictation that he was giving. He was asked, what's the story with, how much is it going to be? How long will it take? He wants it all done in a week. The Treasury is going to come up with a bill this weekend, and they're going to try to ram it through next week because they all want to go home on September 26th to do their campaigning. So, again, I urge everybody, for whatever reason, you can have any reason at all, stop this thing, block it, filibuster it, and again, I have these killer amendments that would have that effect and that would be reasonable and that would be educational. In other words, if you're going to do all this, why not stop foreclosures for 5 years? Why not wipe out those derivatives that have caused this crisis? Why not build in absolute guarantees for Social Security and the rest of the safety net? Why not add things? How about this? You're going to save Goldman Sachs from bankruptcy, and they're going to go back to speculating on oil. Oil is creeping up again, right? Oil is up $5 or $6 a barrel. We know that Goldman Sachs is about a third to 40% of all the oil speculation is done by Goldman Sachs through that London offshore exchange. So what you're going to do is your tax money will save Goldman Sachs so they can foreclose on you and speculate on oil.
Okay, Webster, we're coming back to the full audience. Final segment with Webster Tarpley. I want to set him up for a couple hours next week to really break all this down. In fact, on air, Webster, I forgot to ask you because we skipped the breaks. You got your book in front of you? Trey's out today because he's working this Sunday. But I hope there's some time we can get you on for a couple hours to really go through your ideas on reforming this crime syndicate for several hours. So let's confer on that, and I'll call you after the show. But in the time we have left with you, Webster, yes, I mean, you're absolutely right. They are imploding the economy. They're sucking it dry. And then they're still going to foreclose on our houses, even though the tax burden to pay for the bailout's being put on our backs. I mean, this is just unbelievable. And they're turning the the shorters loose on what's left of the already beleaguered real economy, but protecting themselves. I mean, this is just, these wolves are not going to stop. So you had some ideas to try to stop this. Briefly get into those. We're almost out of time. And then getting into the real world, I mean, we hope they listen to Webster Tarpley or others, Richard C. Cook, but we know they have a plan, and that's move the military in and suck everything dry and implode the economy, and that's just basically the end of America, and they move on to the happy hunting grounds and like they do in other third world countries and suck them dry and just put dictators in. Let's talk about where this is really going, though, because we all know they're not going to listen to us. So please continue. Well,
let me just add one of the things we said during the break, which I think is important. You're going to be bilked $1 trillion to save Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is still going to foreclose on your house.